We've all been there. You watch a movie, you really like it, and then you know that the movie is not exactly very good, but you like it. You meet up with friends and you say, hey, you see that new Venom movie? Yeah, that shit was fire. And someone says, that shit was awful. And then you don't know what to say. You say, hey, I actually enjoyed it. I laughed a few times, you know? I'm actually really excited for the Blu-ray. And that's me. I'm that person. I'm actually very excited to see Venom, not for the same reasons that other people are. And it's a guilty pleasure. It's one of the most unintentionally hilarious movies of all time. And many people disagree. Some people think it's just plain awful, and other people genuinely like it. But I see a lot of stuff in that movie that's just really hilarious. And I guess that's an honorable mention in this list, because we're going to go over 5 films that I like, and I genuinely like, and I guess they're guilty pleasures. I'm calling it guilty pleasure, but in reality, you should not feel guilty for liking a movie. If you like it, hey, share your love and say why you like it. Whether it's because it's bad, whether it's because it's so bad it's good, or you just think it's genuinely good. And I'll be going over the list and I'll be telling you if I think it's genuinely good or if I think it's so bad it's good. Number 5 is a movie that to this day a lot of people didn't like, and that movie is Green Hornet. A lot of people didn't like this movie. They said that they typecasted Christoph Waltz and that they just casted him because he's good at playing villains. And when he played the villain, he played it too cartoony, and that Seth Rogen is no action star. And this is an action comedy. I genuinely think this is a good movie. It's very underrated. I laugh at a lot of scenes. And there's another guilty pleasure that I didn't put on this list, but it follows the same type of formula, is the Wild Wild West. Wild Wild West, when it came out, and even to this day, no one likes it. I genuinely like Wild Wild West. And I never saw the show. People hated it because it was so different from the show. And the same thing is with Green Hornet. It's so different from that show that people just dismiss it. And I think when you grab a movie, whether it's a remake or an adaptation of a book or a new version of a show, whatever it is, make it your own. Don't make the exact same thing that happened before. And that's the case with Green Hornet. Great action, pretty funny. There's a good duo between Seth Rogen and Jay Cho, who plays Kato. And the thing about Green Hornet was that, I don't know if it was the marketing, I don't know what it was that, or maybe people simply have different tastes in movies. I think that's just the case, where it's just a movie that people didn't like. This movie came out in 2011 and no one really talks about this movie anymore. So number 4 is a movie that no one talks about. And that movie is Jackie Chan's The Protector, directed by James Glickenhaus. The Protector has Jackie Chan playing kind of like a Dirty Harry kind of character who knows martial arts and cusses a lot, which Jackie Chan wasn't too happy about, which goes into the Hong Kong version that was released, where he re-edited the film and shot several scenes to change the film to his liking. The edited version is a nice what if. I actually prefer the American version because that's the finished product that was released in theaters here in the US. It was very violent, a lot of drugs, and I liked the duo between Danny Aiello, who plays the character of Detective Garoni, and Jackie Chan plays a guy who does things by his own rules. He's just doesn't like to follow authority. And these two characters, you wouldn't think they would make a good combo. They're so different, and they're both funny, and they have really cool banter and cool lines. I think The Protector is very underrated. Jackie Chan doesn't even like this movie, pretty much ignores it as if it never happened, and if you give him a poster with this film, he probably won't autograph it. But I like it, regardless of whether Jackie Chan likes it or not. I think it has some cool action sequences. Everything is like long takes. There's some slow motion shots that I like. I like the soundtrack. It's actually pretty funny, and no one mentions it. So it's a guilty pleasure of mine. And so when this film came out, it got bad reviews, and even throughout the years, most people think this movie is one of Jackie Chan's worst films. Number 3 is, I have to find a way to put Steven Seagal into a list because I guess his whole catalog is a guilty pleasure of mine. But Seagal really has 5 legit good movies, which is Above the Law, Out for Justice, Hard to Kill, Marked for Death, and Under Siege. He was so big at the time that they gave him a directorial debut with On Deadly Ground. That was his first bad movie. But right after that, he was contracted to do the sequel to Under Siege, which I actually enjoy more than the first one. But, you know, many people now don't remember it. People who actually have seen it now will say it's weaker than the first one, and a lot of the effects haven't aged well. And yes, it has some really bad effects, a lot of inconsistencies, cringeworthy lines, but I love it. It's one of his best theatrical bad movies. Whereas On Deadly Ground is just really bad, Under Siege 2, I will watch it all the time, and I love the score. The score is made by the same guy who did RoboCop, and it sounds very similar to RoboCop. Some of the fight scenes, I'm like, am I watching RoboCop or am I watching Under Siege 2? There's a lot of the great like patty cake slapping that Seagal does. So I enjoyed Under Siege 2, and I want to say it's better than the first one, for me at least. So number 2 is another guy who just like Seagal, I like his catalog for different reasons than most people. Nicolas Cage makes a lot of bad movies, and people say that now is the case where he's making bad movies, a lot of direct-to-video movies. But believe it or not, he's been making bad movies since the 80s. If you go way back to a little movie that he made actually after Raising Arizona, and that movie is Vampire's Kiss. This is the most bizarre, weird movie. People didn't like it when it came out, and still to this day I know a lot of people who don't like this movie. Basically the story is Nicolas Cage gets bitten by this vampire who he falls in love with, and he's obsessed with her, and he's going around, telling people, I'm a vampire, and he starts eating cockroaches and doing really weird shit. If you want to see Nicolas Cage going fucking crazy on the screen, this is the movie. Yeah, technically speaking it's bad, but hell, if a movie entertained me from beginning to end, is it really bad? Isn't that the case of what most movies are supposed to do? Is supposed to entertain you for an hour and a half to 2 hours? Vampire's Kiss did that, and there was never one dull moment in this movie. Every single line is very quotable. Every single scene involves something really weird. Am I getting through to you, Alba? You have to do it. It's a terrible, terrible job. And even if there was someone lower down the tempo, I wouldn't have them do it. You have to find that file. Who misplaces a file? A, B, C, D, Peter, H, I, J. That goddamn contract is in one of those goddamn files. It's so fucking crazy. I love it. That is Vampire's Kiss. Check it out. It's available on DVD and Blu-ray. Shout Factory actually released it on Blu-ray. It's available, I think, also alone, and also including a double feature of Once Bitten with Jim Carrey. So you can get either one. It's up to you. It's widely available. Number 1 is a movie that I'm still waiting. Hopefully one day they'll release this on Blu-ray or Blu-ray 4K. I don't even have 4K, and I would get it on 4K just to watch it. And that movie is Freddy Got Fingered. So this movie came out in 2001, and everyone hated it. Roger Ebert hated it. Every single reviewer and critic disliked it. And even to this day, there's a lot of people, mainstream audiences, hate this movie. They don't find it funny. And I saw this movie in the heyday of Tom Green. People don't realize how big Tom Green was back in the day. I'm talking about from 2001 to like 2004. That era was the Tom Green era. Freddy Got Fingered was a film that he directed, he wrote, he had complete creative control of this project. And people misunderstood this movie. You guys think I'm crazy? Don't click the X just yet. I think it's a masterpiece. It's a misunderstood film. Freddy Got Fingered was literally Tom Green giving a big F you to Fox and Regency, were the companies that produced this film. He pretty much trolled a multi-billion-dollar industry to literally make his shitty film. He knew it was bad, but he made it, and everything actually makes sense. There is a plot. It's literally a guy who is living in his parents' basement, a 28-year-old who wants to move out to California to become this big doodle artist, whatever, and he hopes that some executive would buy his project and put it up on the market, and it's called Zebras in America. And there's so much gross out humor in this film, where he misunderstands things, and he misunderstands them the same way we viewers are misunderstanding things about the movie, where they tell Tom Green, like, you have to get inside the creatures to understand them, so he thinks he has to get inside the carcass of a fucking deer that got run over and become like a deer and start doing crazy, like really dumb shit. But that's literally him trolling, not the audience, but trolling the studio to actually believing in him and allowing him to do that. That's the magic behind that film. He's gone in interviews mentioning how this movie was not ever intended to be a mainstream comedy. This was supposed to be a project of his where he can do whatever the hell he wanted. And there is an arc, there's actually stuff going on and things get resolved. It's not as random as the reviews at the time claimed it to be. And I think now certain moviegoers and collectors are actually appreciating this film for what it is. Every time I watch it, I catch something different, especially with the things that I know about it now that I didn't know at the time. When it came out, I loved it for how dumb and stupid a lot of the stuff was. And now I see the magic and the cleverness behind that stupidity, because it takes a certain clever individual to make this level of stupidity make sense. I really enjoy Freddy Got Fingered. It's one of those movies that I can watch over and over again. Whenever I feel sad or whatever, I just watch Freddy Got Fingered. I can't tell you why the movie's called Freddy Got Fingered. You have to watch it, and it does make sense why it's called like that. It's not just a random title just for the sake of being called Freddy Got Fingered. But yeah, I actually think this is a good movie. I have no shame in saying is that I like this movie for not for what it is, but for what it really is, a masterpiece in comedy. It's just a film that was ahead of its time. And I even think today it's still ahead of its time in a lot of the stuff that they got away with that would not happen today. I hope you enjoyed this list. These are films that I genuinely enjoy for one reason or another. So if there's a movie that you like but everyone else doesn't like, hey, don't be afraid in voicing your opinion. If you like the movie, say it. You know, don't be apologetic about it. Like Star Wars Last Jedi? Go for it. If you didn't like it, go for it. For any movie in particular, it doesn't matter what it is, it's up to you. So let me know on the list, let me know on the comment section down below what set of movies you like that other people disagree with, that are guilty pleasures to you. And while this is called a guilty pleasure, you should never feel guilty about the movies that you like. Hope you enjoyed this list. I'm Best Guy. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell button so you can get notifications on all the awesome videos here on Dropping Loads. And check me out on Instagram. I post there every now and then. So anyway, guys, until next time, bye.